I didn't hear the knock over the rain. The sound came shredded, dripped into threads by the wind that tunneled down the empty hallway of my building. I was halfway through steeping tea, counting the seconds against the tick of the kitchen clock, when the second knock landed with a patience that felt personal. I opened the door to a season I thought I had buried. He stood there, soaked through water, slicking his hair to his forehead, jacket heavy as if the rain had learned to cling. His lips were shaking. His eyes, those strange clear grays that once tracked storms like a sailor reading the horizon, lifted until they found me, and steadied. "Hi," he said, like we were strangers in a grocery line. Then I noticed what he was holding. The ring lay in his palm like a soft-boned animal. Mud clung to the diamond's prongs. A year ago, beneath the willow by the inlet, I dug a shallow grave with my hands and dropped the ring in without a box, without a prayer. Just the hard breath of a woman who refused to carry anything that could cut her from the inside. "How did you?" My voice tore. "Ethan." His name arrived in the hallway and hung there, a moth stunned by light. "I found it," he said. "I think I found it. I was near water." He blinked as if searching for a shore just behind my shoulder. I didn't know where else to go. I wanted to slam the door, to keep the past and the weather. I wanted to pull him in and press my hands to his shaking shoulders. I did neither. The rain made a sound like radio static. Beyond him, the stairwell bulb fluttered. "How did you find my address?" I asked. He nodded toward the ring. "It led me. A year is long enough to convince yourself you imagined a life. Long enough that grief stops screaming and starts humming, a small motor beneath the floorboards. Long enough to begin telling people your sister's name, without bracing for the wince that follows." "Come in," I said. He crossed the threshold like it might fall through. Water pooled under him, obedient. I took his jacket and felt the tremor in his bones, thin, relentless. He was colder than the metal zipper. Colder than last winter when I slept with the window cracked because silence made me claustrophobic. In the bathroom, I handed him a towel and a sweatshirt I once loved because it was his. He went quiet behind the door. Water hit porcelain in short bursts, the kind of shower you take when you're afraid of heat. I stood in the hall looking at my own hands, the faint crescents of earth still under the nails in my memory. When he came out, the sweatshirt changed him. He looked like the word before. "I can't remember," he said. "What can't you remember?" He touched the seam of the sweatshirt near his ribs, as if it could unzip his head. "Most things, I think. But it's strange the rain is familiar. Your door is familiar." His gaze flicked to the ring on my counter. That is familiar and wrong at the same time. I poured the tea I had forgotten, then left it cooling on the table. "Sit," I said. He obeyed, shoulders rounded. He didn't ask for sugar the way he used to. 5 packs torn with his teeth because he thought it made me laugh. Outside, a siren went past city, time traveling at its usual speed. "Where were you before you came here?" I asked. "Water," he said, "and glass." He frowned. A sound like something small, breaking, but important. I followed a street that didn't want to be followed. I could hear a phone ringing. It wasn't mine. I went still. "What else?" He looked at me too directly. "I think I hurt someone I love." The radiator clanged, a dumb animal in the wall. I thought of the message sitting in my drafts. The one I recorded the night of the funeral but never sent. 16 seconds of breathing and 5 of words I couldn't say to a living person. I thought of the willow, the coil of mud curling around the diamond like a fist. "My sister," I said. "Maya." His face changed like weather across open water. A flinch. A swallow. "I know that name," he whispered. "It tastes like salt." "Because she drowned," I said, and immediately hated the flatness of it. The way facts protect us from feeling for exactly one breath before they fail. Ethan closed his eyes. When he opened them, there was a fog across the gray. "I'm sorry," he said. "I don't know why I'm here. I just knew I had to bring you the ring." He reached for it. The metal winked under the kitchen light, a bright lie pretending to be pure. He turned it in his fingers and I saw, for the first time, scratches along the inner bantony, sharp-angled, as if the ring had been dragged against cement. "Those weren't there," I said. "How do you know?" "Because I used to clean it with a toothbrush," I answered. surprised by my own tenderness. I would have noticed. He set the ring down with careful disgust. The way you return a blade to a table. I thought, he murmured, that if I brought you something you lost, it would mean I wasn't the kind of man who takes. I could feel the night we stopped being us, crawling to the edge of the room. The fight by the sink, his breath sharp with the word honesty, my hands busy with plates because they were safer than truth. The way he left without his coat, and I didn't run after him, because if you run once, you promise to run forever. Stay tonight, I said. We'll talk in the morning. He shook his head. I don't trust my mornings. Then trust mine. A long minute stretched. His shoulders lowered by a fraction. I made a bed on the couch with blankets that still smelled like laundry detergent and winter sun. He lay down like a person being measured for a disappearance, eyes fixed on the ceiling where water stains mapped old storms. I stood in the doorway to my bedroom, watching the dark ally, he sat into the dim. He hadn't called me that since before the hospital, before words like neurological and aberration armed our conversations. Yes. If the rain is a memory, he asked, does that mean what came before it is? Too? What came before? I said. He was quiet so long, I thought he had drifted. Then, softly, a voice. A woman on the phone. She kept saying my name. She kept saying don't go. My throat closed. Who was she? He asked. I placed my hand on the door frame, steadying myself on what I could name. Maybe me, I said. The city went on breathing. Somewhere a bottle rolled on concrete. The ring on the counter caught the light from the street and threw it back like a signal. I turned out the hall lamp. In the dark, with the rain insisting, I could almost believe there was a world in which we never learned to lie to save each other. I could almost believe he hadn't come back to finish what the night began. The morning came pale and unwilling, sliding through the half-closed blinds like a trespasser. The rain had stopped, but the air was swollen with its memory-wet wood, cold iron, the smell of something left unsaid. I woke to the sound of the kettle whistling. For a moment, I thought it was Maya making tea again, singing under her breath the way she did when she was happy. But when I stepped into the kitchen, it was Ethan, wearing my oversized sweater and looking like he'd stepped out of a dream that didn't want to be remembered. Morning, he said, too careful with the word as if it might shatter between us. I nodded, pretending that this was normal, that ghosts sometimes boiled water. He poured the tea, his movements oddly precise. I noticed a faint cut along his wrist, half-healed but recent. It trailed like an unfinished sentence. You didn't sleep much, I said. He smiled weakly. The house talks. I froze. What do you mean? Footsteps, he said, frowning toward the hallway. And a woman humming. I thought it was you. The cup in my hand trembled. No, I whispered. That wasn't me. For a moment, we both listened. The silence was thick, expectant. A pipe ticked inside the wall like a heartbeat out of rhythm. Ethan looked down at the tea, then at the window. You live here alone, yes. Since the funeral. He nodded as though he already knew. His eyes traveled to the counter where the ring still lay a small, cruel witness between us. I had a dream, he said softly. I was underwater. Someone kept calling my name. It wasn't your voice, it was sharper, urgent. Maya, I said before I could stop myself. He blinked. Your sister, yes. He hesitated. You said she drowned. I nodded. By the inlet? They found her car near the bridge. No witnesses. No camera footage. Just the rain that night and a voicemail that cut off halfway. What did it say? I looked away. Nothing clear. Just breathing. And my name? Ethan rubbed his temple. That night, I keep seeing glass. A windshield. A reflection of light that doesn't belong there. My chest tightened. You were with her that night, weren't you? He looked at me startled, then lowered his gaze. I don't know. You disappeared, Ethan. The police thought. I know, he interrupted, voice suddenly harsh. They thought I ran. Did you? He flinched, then whispered maybe I was already gone. The way he said it made the room smaller. I stepped back, my shoulder brushing against the photo frame on the wall, a picture of Maya and me on the pier. Wind in our hair, the lighthouse behind us like a promise that light could survive distance. The frame tilted. I caught it before it fell. Ethan's voice was smaller now. Who is she? The woman in the picture. My sister, I said again. Maya. He nodded slowly, staring at her smile as if trying to map something he'd once known. She looks like you, he said. She used to say I stole her face, I replied. He almost smiled. Maybe that's why I keep confusing the two of you. The air went still. A drop of water slid down the window, tracing the shape of something invisible. What do you remember, Ethan? I asked. Anything at all before the rain? He inhaled sharply. A sound. Tires on gravel. A voice screaming stop. And then nothing. Whose voice? I don't know. But it was afraid. We stood there, the tea between us, cooling into silence. Then, from somewhere upstairs, came a faint creak. Ethan turned. See? He whispered. She's still here. I wanted to tell him it was just the wood settling, or the house breathing like all old houses do, but the words wouldn't form, because I heard it too, the soft, rhythmic hum of a woman's voice drifting down the stairwell. A melody I hadn't heard since the night Maya died. Ethan looked at me. That's the song, isn't it? I swallowed. Her favorite? He stepped toward the stairs, barefoot, slow. Then maybe she wants to be found, Ethan. He didn't stop. The steps creaked beneath his weight. The humming faded, replaced by the sound of something falling, a photo frame, or maybe a door. I ran after him. At the top of the stairs, the hallway was empty. Only the attic door swayed slightly, open just enough for light to leak through. Ethan stood beneath it, looking up. She's there, he whispered. I can feel it. Don't, I said, reaching for him. There's nothing up. Before I could finish, he climbed. Dust spun in the thin light like fragments of breath. I followed, heart hammering, each step groaning as if the house itself wanted to warn us. When I reached the attic, he was kneeling beside an old trunk. His fingers traced the lid, slow and reverent. Ethan, I said, breathless, what are you doing? He looked at me, eyes wide, trembling. This is hers. The trunk creaked open. Inside lay a soaked envelope, the paper warped by time and damp. On the back, in faded ink, were 4 words written in Maya's hand. If he comes back. Ethan's breath hitched. What does it mean? I stared at the handwriting, my pulse roaring in my ears. It means, I whispered. She knew. Ethan didn't move for a long time. The attic air was thick with dust and memory, the kind that clings to skin like regret. The envelope trembled in his hands as though it recognized him. Should I open it? He asked. His voice was fragile, almost a whisper, afraid of an answer. I couldn't speak. Every part of me screamed no, but curiosity, that cruel survival instinct of the grieving, forced me to nod. He slid a finger under the damp flap. The seal gave way with a sigh, releasing a faint scent of sea and paper rot. Inside was a folded sheet and a small cassette tape wrapped in tissue. Ethan held the tape up to the light. A voicemail, I nodded. She had an old recorder. Sometimes she left messages for herself when she couldn't sleep. The note was brief, written in Maya's looping script. If he comes back, play this. That was all. No greeting, no date, just that one conditional line, as if she had known he would vanish and return in the same breath. I found the player in a drawer buried under broken photo frames. When I pressed play, static filled the attic like falling rain. Then, her voice, Maya's breathing, uneven, trembling. Ethan, it's late. You said you'd come by to talk, but it's been hours. The rain's getting worse. I saw the headlines about the accident on the bridge. Please tell me it's not you. Ethan's hand went white around the edge of the box. If you hear this, it means you're alive. Or maybe I'm talking to ghosts again, like you said I do. I found something tonight. In your car. The ring. Why did you take it? The tape crackled. Her breath hitched. You said she didn't know. That she didn't have to. But Ethan, she's my sister. She deserves the truth. He shut his eyes. No. I'm going to her now. Maya's voice continued, urgent. We'll fix this together. You can still tell her yourself. Don't run. The tape cut abruptly. Silence fell like a blade. Ethan's shoulders were shaking. I didn't, he began, then stopped, choking on air. I didn't take the ring. I swear I didn't. But she found it in your car. He looked lost, his voice cracking. Then maybe she'll put it there. Why would she? I started, but stopped when I saw his face. Raw panic, confusion, guilt. I loved you, he said suddenly, eyes glassy. But I loved her too in a different way. The way you love someone who knows the worst part of you and stays anyway. She was helping me. That night, I was supposed to meet her to tell you the truth. What truth? My voice trembled. That the accident wasn't an accident, he said. The world tilted. Ethan. He stepped back, shaking his head, words spilling too fast. I didn't mean for any of it, your father, the company, the reports. Maya was the only one who knew. She said she'd fix it before it reached you. But something went wrong. The car, the bridge. He stopped. His hand went to his temple again, as if the memory itself was trying to claw out. I see light, he whispered. Glass breaking. Then water. She was screaming. I think I tried to save her. Tears burned behind my eyes. Then why didn't you tell me? I woke up days later, he said. No name. No past. Just that ring. I thought it belonged to her. I pressed my hand to my mouth. God? He looked at me then. Really looked like someone begging to be recognized after drowning. I didn't kill her, ally. I tried to save her. Outside, thunder rolled faintly across the horizon, as if the sky itself was remembering. I turned the tape over in my hand. It was warped, water damaged, but the label still legible, May 17th. The night she died. The words blurred through my tears. Ethan sank to the floor, covering his face. If she knew, he whispered, why did she write that message? If he comes back, what did she think I'd find? I looked at the envelope again, at the edges eaten by time. Inside, beneath the note, was something else, another scrap of paper, smaller, torn. I pulled it out carefully. A single sentence in Maya's handwriting. The truth isn't buried underwater, it's waiting upstairs. I froze. Upstairs, I murmured. But we're already in the attic. Ethan looked up, puzzled. Then what's above the attic? The rain began again, sudden and hard, drumming the roof like a warning. In the corner, a thin line of water trickled down the wall, tracing the outline of something square. Ethan moved closer, eyes narrowing. There's something behind it. He pressed his hand against the plaster and the wall gave a hollow sound, like a door waiting for its story to be opened. Ethan's palm pressed against the wall. The sound that came back was hollow and echo, that didn't belong to the living. The rain outside intensified, drumming the roof as if demanding to be heard. He turned to me. There's space behind this, he said. Something sealed off. I swallowed. This house is over 100 years old. It could be anything, a crawl space, a pipe, but before I could finish, a soft crack split the air. A piece of plaster fell away, revealing old wood soaked with moisture. And carved into it, faint but legible, were initials ML and EH, Maya Lang. Ethan Hart. My knees went weak. Why is your name there? He stared at it like a man facing his own gravestone. I don't know, he whispered. But it means I've been here before. He tore away the loose paneling. Behind it was a small recess, lined with tarnished metal. Inside, something gleamed under the weak light. A locket. Silver, rusted at the hinge. Ethan picked it up. When he opened it, the faint scent of salt hit the air, the kind that never leaves fabric once it's been near the sea. Inside the locket was a photo. Maya on one side, smiling at the camera, and on the other, me. We were standing by the pier. The lighthouse behind us, my arm around her shoulder. Between the two photos, a thin layer of glass separated our faces. Ethan's voice trembled. She had this with her that night. How do you know? Because I gave it to her. I looked up sharply. You what? He nodded, guilt clouding his expression. You'd just left that day. You said you needed space. I went to see Maya to return your things. I didn't want you to think I'd given up, but I thought she could talk to you, calm you down. I felt the blood drain from my face. You met her before the accident. He nodded again. At the inlet. She gave me this locket and said, if Ally forgives you, give it back to her. If not, keep it until she can. He swallowed hard. She never got the chance. The memory of that day flooded back, The storm warnings, the fight, my phone left on the counter, ringing unanswered. The news alert hours later, car found near bridge. One missing. I pressed a hand to my mouth. You went to her after me. She called me, he said. Said she found something about your father's company. She sounded scared. I shook my head. She wouldn't have gone to the bridge unless she was trying to protect someone. He looked at me, eyes wet. Maybe she was protecting both of us. We stood there, the locket cold between us. Then, faintly just beneath the rain came a sound. A melody. Not from the attic this time, but from the locket itself. Ethan turned it over. The back was engraved. Tiny letters barely visible. Wind chime music box pressed twice. He pressed. A soft tune began to play. Weak but distinct. The same lullaby Maya used to hum when we were children. The one she said sounded like silver bells underwater. I felt tears rise before I even realized why. The melody carried a memory I had buried too deep to name. I saw it, the three of us at the pier years ago. The last day before the world began to crack. Flashback. The air had smelled like salt and sunburn. Maya's laughter skipped over the waves. Ethan was trying to fix the old wind chime we found tangled in the dock rope. Hold still, he said, squinting at the knot. You're terrible at this, I teased. He smiled sideways. You always say that before I prove you wrong. Maya sat cross-legged beside us, humming the same tune. You two argue like you're rehearsing forever. Forever's too long, I said, flicking her hair. She smiled. Then make it worth it. The chime finally loosened. It rang once clear, bright, like sunlight catching on water. I remember the sound, the silver shimmer in the air, and the way Ethan looked at me hopeful, certain. That was before my father's scandal. Before the lies. Before the bridge. Before everything broke. Back to the present. The song wound down, a final fragile note fading into the rain. Ethan closed the locket with shaking hands. She recorded it, he murmured. That melody eats her voice. I nodded, tears spilling. It's all that's left of her. He looked up at the initials again. Salt and silver, he whispered. That's what we were made of. The sea took one, and left the other. I touched the wall beside his hand. Or maybe it didn't take her. Maybe she stayed. A drop of water fell from the ceiling, landing on the locket. It gleamed once, then dulled. I didn't know whether to believe in ghosts or guilt anymore. But as the rain whispered through the cracks, I swore I heard her voice again, soft, close, almost forgiving. You can't bury the sea, ally. And just like that, the house exhaled. We didn't move for a while. The house felt quieter after the song ended, as if the melody had finally settled into its bones. Rain whispered against the roof, steady and patient. Ethan still held the silver locket, turning it in his hands like something sacred and dangerous at once. There's more here, he murmured. The wallet's too shallow to be just a panel. He was right. When I pressed my ear to it, I heard a faint hum behind the plaster. A sound almost mechanical. Maybe wiring, I said. He shook his head. No, it's something older. We worked together, prying off another section of the wall. Behind it, hidden under layers of insulation, was a small metal box, rusted but intact. Ethan wiped away the grime, revealing a faded label. Surveillance footage, May 17th. My blood went cold. That's the night. He nodded. The night she died. We brought the box to the table downstairs. I found an old camcorder from my photography days and connected the tape. The screen flickered to life with a hiss of static, then steadied. The first image. The inlet. Night. Headlights reflecting off wet asphalt. A car parked near the bridge railing. Maya's car. Ethan leaned closer. That's her. We watched in silence as a figure exited the car, Maya coat pulled tight, umbrella fighting the wind. She walked toward the edge of the bridge, glancing over her shoulder every few seconds. Then, another figure appeared. A man. The camera angle was poor, caught from across the street. But his build, his posture. Ethan, I whispered. He froze. It's not, it could be anyone. But it wasn't anyone. The man moved closer. Maya lowered the umbrella. They spoke too far to hear, the storm eating their words. Then, the man reached out, grabbed her arm. She pulled back. The umbrella fell. A flash of headlights. Screeching tires. Then, chaos. The camera jolted, lost focus, and the last thing we saw was the reflection of water swallowing light. The screen went black. For a long moment, neither of us breathed. Ethan's voice broke the silence. I don't remember that. I would never. I turned to him. His face was colorless, eyes wide with horror. She trusted you, I said quietly. She called you that night. I tried to save her. His hand slammed the table. You have to believe me, Ally. I want to, I whispered. But every road leads back to you. He backed away, trembling. No. There's something wrong with the footage. Why would it exist here? Who would hide it? I looked at the box again. There was another tape beneath the first, smaller, unmarked. Without thinking, I loaded it. Static again. Then, a close-up of a hand holding a camera. A woman's voice speaking softly behind it. If you're seeing this, it means I couldn't tell her myself. My heart stuttered. That's Maya, Ethan whispered. She recorded this. The image steadied. Maya's face came into view, tired, pale but calm. She was in this very attic. He doesn't remember, she said. He doesn't know what he did. But it wasn't his fault. Ethan's breath hitched. What? It was me, Maya continued. I lied to both of you. The report, the company files, it was me who sent them. I thought I was protecting you, Ally. But when Ethan found out, he came to stop me. I panicked. I tried to drive away. The bridge was wet. Her voice cracked. Tell him I forgive him. The video ended there. Ethan's knees buckled. He sank to the floor, staring at the screen as if it had shown him the edge of his soul. I sat down beside him, unable to speak. Rain poured harder, washing against the windows like an apology the world was too late to make. He looked at me finally, eyes red. She forgave me. But you? I didn't answer. Because forgiveness, I realized, isn't a word. It's a wound that keeps choosing not to close. And as the storm raged outside, the last frame of the video flickered once more. Maya's smile frozen mid-breath, a ghost of light trapped between glass fragments. The storm lasted through the night. Every gust of wind sounded like it was trying to tear the house apart, to rip open every secret we'd nailed shut. Ethan hadn't moved from the floor. The blue glow from the screen painted his face in a ghost's light. Maya's final words, tell him I forgive him, still echoed through the room like a heartbeat that refused to stop. I wanted to reach for him, to touch his shoulder, to say something human, but every word that came to mind felt smaller than the silence between us. Finally, he spoke. His voice was barely there. She died because of me. I shook my head. She made her choice. He looked up, eyes hollow. And I made mine. I lied. The words landed like broken glass. He swallowed hard. That night, after she called, I went to the bridge. But I wasn't trying to stop her from leaving. You were right. I went because of you. Me, he nodded. I thought she was going to tell you everything about the report, about your father, about the company funds. I thought, if she did, you'd never forgive me. Rain beat the windows harder, like punishment. I begged her not to, he continued. I told her I'd fix it, that I'd take the blame, but she wouldn't listen. She said the truth mattered more than love. I closed my eyes. That sounds like her. She got angry. Said she'd rather lose both of us than keep pretending. She turned to leave and I grabbed her arm. His voice broke. I didn't mean to hurt her. She slipped. I tried to catch her, Ally, I swear I did. The railing was wet. The car behind us honked, and the next second she was just gone. Tears blurred my sight. I could see it now. The bridge, the rain, the flash of headlights. Two people clinging to opposite sides of a truth neither could hold. Ethan's hand shook. I ran, not because I didn't care but because I couldn't bear what I'd done. I drove until I couldn't remember where I was. I must have crashed later. When I woke up in the hospital, they said I'd fallen into the riverbank. The rest was gone. He looked at me, eyes red-rimmed raw. And when I saw you again tonight, I thought maybe God was giving me a chance to remember only the good. My throat ached. You lied, I whispered. Yes. He nodded slowly. But so did you. I froze. What are you talking about? He pointed toward the drawer near the stairs. The voicemail. The one you never sent. I stiffened. How do you know about that? He gave a small, broken smile. You left it on your phone that night. I heard it before I left. I felt my knees weaken. Ethan, if you leave, don't come back. If you love me, lie. Say it was all my fault. Just don't let me hate you. The words I'd recorded and never sent. The last thing I ever said to him, to no one. I wanted to protect you, I said, trembling. I thought if I made you the villain, it would be easier to survive the truth. He let out a breath that was almost a laugh. We were both trying to protect each other. And all we did was drown. Lightning split the window in two, a flash of white across his face. For a second, he looked exactly as he did that night-soaked, trembling eyes, full of apology. Maybe, I whispered. We never stopped drowning. He reached for my hand. Then let's stop lying. The contact was warm, trembling, real. And for a moment, under the storm's roar, there was something like peace, fragile, temporary, almost holy. Then, somewhere deep in the house, a sound, a thud. We both froze. It came from upstairs, the attic. Ethan turned toward the sound, his grip on my hand tightening. Ally, he said quietly. We're not alone. The sound came again, a heavy thud, followed by something dragging across the floorboards above us. It wasn't the wind this time. It was deliberate. Alive? Ethan and I exchanged a look, the kind of silent terror that doesn't need words. He rose first, still holding my hand. The power flickered, then died, leaving the house in a heartbeat of darkness. Stay behind me, he said. The flashlight beam cut through the dim like a blade. Dust fell from the ceiling as we climbed the stairs, step by step, breath by breath. When we reached the attic door, it was open wider than before, weighing on its hinges as if something had just slipped inside. Rain thundered on the roof overhead. Ethan, I whispered, don't. But he was already stepping in. The beam swept across the room, boxers, old furniture, the shadow of the trunk we'd opened before. Then, a movement. In the corner, a shape. Small, hunched, breathing. Ethan froze. Who's there? No answer, only a low sob, faint and human. I took a step forward. Hello. The shape turned. And in the pale light, I saw a woman's face. Older. Fragile. Eyes rimmed red as though she hadn't stopped crying for years. Her voice cracked. You shouldn't have come here, I gasped. Who are you? She looked straight at me, trembling. You don't remember me. Ethan's breath hitched. Mrs. Lang, I turned to him. My mother, he nodded slowly. I felt the world tilt. That's impossible. She died. 10 years ago. Mrs. Lang shook her head. No, Ally, I didn't die. I left. Because your father told me to. My knees almost gave way. What? Her gaze flicked to Ethan, pained and knowing. And you were there that night too, weren't you? He said nothing. My heartbeat pounded so loud it drowned the rain. Tell me what's going on. Mrs. Lang's eyes filled with tears. Your father didn't just lose money, Ally. He stole it. From the company? From Maya's project. When she found out, she tried to stop him. But she trusted Ethan, thought he could help. He tried to protect you both. But your father? She stopped, pressing a shaking hand to her mouth. He followed her that night. He was the one who hit her car. Ethan pulled him away from the wreck and took the blame. The air left my lungs. No, that can't be. Ethan's voice broke. It's true. He threatened to ruin your family. I thought if I said it was me, you'd still have something left. Tears blurred my vision. You lied to save him. You lied to save us. I had to, he said, voice trembling. You would have hated your father. You would have hated yourself. Mrs. Lang's eyes closed. He made me disappear to keep the truth buried. I couldn't stop him. But Maya found out. She thought she could fix it. She met Ethan on that bridge to take the blame herself. She wanted to protect you, Ally. The house creaked, thunder echoing above like a pulse. My chest tightened. And she died for it. No one spoke. Outside, the lightning painted the attic white. Ethan sank to his knees. I couldn't save her. I couldn't save you. I thought if I forgot, maybe it would hurt less. I knelt beside him, tears spilling freely now. You remember everything, don't you? He nodded weakly. Every second. Rainwater leaked through the roof, dripping onto the locket between us. It gleamed under the light like something holy and cruel. I picked it up, pressing it to my chest. Then let me remember too. He looked at me, eyes full of sorrow. If you do, you'll never forgive me. Forgiveness isn't the point, I whispered. Love is. He shook his head. Love built this lie. Then let it end with truth. For a moment, time stopped. The storm, the light, even the air, everything held still. Then I leaned forward and kissed him. It tasted like salt and rain and years of things unsaid. Like two people confessing in a language only grief could translate. When we pulled apart, his forehead rested against mine. I'm sorry, he breathed. For all of it I know. The lightning flashed again and, this time, I didn't flinch. Because for the first time, I wasn't afraid of remembering. The storm didn't stop, and we changed its voice. Rain softened to a steady rhythm, like breathing. The kind that follows crying. We sat there on the attic floor, wrapped in silence that felt too alive to break. Ethan's fingers traced the edge of the locket. Every movement was a confession. Then we heard it. A click. From behind the wall, he stood first, the light trembling in his hand. The wall that had once hidden the tapes now looked different. Tits seemed shifting, the wood swollen from the rain. Another click, like a lock unlatching itself. A narrow door, flush with the wall, slid open an inch. Ethan stared. That wasn't there before. Neither of us spoke as he pushed it wider. The smell of old air and salt rolled out, cold and familiar. Inside was a small room barely large enough to stand in. A desk, a chair, and on the desk, a laptop humming faintly, plugged into a generator. The screen flickered to life the moment we entered. A video file was open, labeled simply, "To Ally from M." My breath caught. Maya. Ethan took my hand. Play it. I clicked enter. The screen showed her, again Maya recorded in this very room. Her hair was damp, her eyes red, but her smile, it was the same one from the pier. If you're watching this, it means the truth has found you, she began softly. I know what you've both done and what you both tried to protect. Her voice trembled but didn't break. Ethan, you loved her enough to take the fall. Ally, you loved him enough to hate him for it. That's what we do, we destroy what we can't forgive. I felt Ethan's hand tighten. But the truth isn't meant to punish, she continued. It's meant to free. I left everything here because one of you had to remember. And when you found each other again, maybe you'd finally stop running. Her eyes lifted, as if she could still see us. Tell her, Ethan. Tell her what you told me that night on the bridge, before the water. The screen flickered. Then his voice faint. Recorded? If I could go back, Ethan's voice said, I'd choose you, every time. Even if it meant losing everything else. Maya smiled sadly into the camera. Then don't let the rain take that away. Remember him as he was before the storm. The screen went black. For a long moment, we said nothing. The generator hummed like a heartbeat. Then Ethan turned to me. That's what I said to her. The last thing she heard before she fell. I looked at him, tears forming again. She wanted us to remember, not to forget. He nodded. But remembering hurts. Then let it hurt, I said. It's the only thing that still makes us real. He stepped closer, the dim light catching his face tired, raw but human again. I reached for his hand, and he didn't pull away. Behind us, the door to the attic creaked. Wind pushed it slowly shut, then stopped, leaving a small gap. A door that didn't close. Ethan looked back at it, voice barely audible. She's still here. I shook my head gently, smiling through tears. No. She's where the rain ends. The generator sputtered out, plunging the room into soft darkness. Only the sound of rain remained. Steady, endless, like a promise whispered between ghosts. The rain didn't stop that night. It became a river that ran through the house, whispering down walls, dripping from beams, as if the sky itself wanted to wash us clean. Ethan and I stood in the doorway of the small room, the glow of the dead screen still haunting our eyes. The truth had been said. but the silence that followed felt heavier than any lie. He reached up, pressing his palm against the wood above the hidden door. She left all of this for us. For you, I said softly. She wanted you to remember. He shook his head. No, a lie. She wanted you to forgive. Outside, lightning flared. The room flashed white. And then, like the world exhaling, the rain grew louder. A sound, not thunder, not wind. The creek behind the house had overflowed. Water began seeping under the attic door, pooling at our feet. Ethan, I said, startled. The river's rising. He nodded, almost calm. It's fitting, isn't it? The house remembering what it used to be? What are you talking about? He turned toward me, rainlight glinting in his eyes. This house was built on the edge of the old inlet. The same water that took her. It's coming back. I grabbed his wrist. We have to go. But he didn't move. His eyes were distant, unfocused, like he was listening to something I couldn't hear. Ethan, I whispered. He blinked. She's calling. Before I could stop him, he stepped toward the flooding stairs. I ran after him, the water cold and alive around my ankles. Ethan, don't do this. He stopped halfway down, turning back. Don't you see? He said. This is what she wanted. For us to remember it all. For me to finish it. I shook my head violently. You can't fix the past. But I can make it make sense. The water climbed the steps, fast and merciless. Lightning cracked, illuminating the hallway, the photographs on the wall, the shadows of 3 people frozen in time. Ethan turned toward the front door. The rain outside looked endless. Ethan, please, I cried, waiting after him. Don't leave me again. He paused, and for a heartbeat, he looked like the man I first fell in love with. Quiet, reckless, and full of hope. I never left, he said. I just forgot the way back. He opened the door. A rush of wind and water surged in, cold and violent. I screamed his name, but the storm swallowed the sound. He stepped out into the flood. For a moment, I saw him in the lightning, his silhouette framed by the doorway, arms open, face lifted to the rain, like someone finally surrendering to forgiveness. Then the light went out, and he was gone. When I woke, it was morning. The storm had passed. Sunlight poured through broken windows, turning the wreckage into gold. The air smelled of salt and wood and endings. The house was half submerged, the floor slick with silt. I called his name once, twice. Only the sea answered. In the doorway, I saw it, the silver locket. It was lying in a shallow pool of water, the chain coiled like a question. I picked it up. Inside, the photo of Maya and me was soaked, but intact. Between our faces, the glass had cracked clean through, splitting the reflection in two. Something inside the hinge glimmered. A folded scrap of paper, hidden all along. I pulled it free. The ink had bled, but the words remained. If the sea remembers, so will I. My vision blurred. I stepped outside. The river had receded, leaving the ground slick and glistening. The air was quiet, impossibly so, until I heard it. A voice, soft, distant, Ethan's. Ally. I looked toward the water, the sunlight trembling on its surface. For just a second, I saw him, standing where the inlet met the sea, light bending around him like breath. He smiled, and then he was gone again, like a reflection pulled under by time. The rain had stopped, but it still echoed in my chest. The sea was calm the next day. No trace of the storm, no evidence of the flood, only the still shimmer of water pretending to forget. I stayed in the house, what was left of it. The walls had swollen, warped, peeled. The ghosts finally had nothing left to hide behind. I moved from room to room, barefoot, the floor creaking under every step like memory protesting to be remembered. In the kitchen, the ring still lay where Ethan had placed it that first night. It had dried, dulled, the diamond now a small, lifeless eye. I picked it up and turned it in the light. I could still hear his voice. If I could go back, I'd choose you, every time. The sound of it didn't hurt anymore. It ached gently, like the scar of something healed but unforgettable. On the table beside the ring, I left the lock. The 2 faces, mine and Maya's, stared back through the cracked glass. 2 halves of one story that would never be whole again. The air was heavy with salt and quiet. Outside, the clouds began to lift. I stepped out onto the porch. The world smelled of earth after rain, that strange perfume of endings and beginnings. In the distance, the inlet gleamed silver, endless. I walked toward it, the wet ground sucking softly at my feet. Each step felt lighter, like leaving something behind. When I reached the edge, I saw the remnants of the bridge half sunk, half standing, a skeleton of choices. I closed my eyes and whispered, "Are you still there?" For a moment, only the wind answered. Then a ripple crossed the water, faint and deliberate. A sound rose with it, soft, familiar. The lullaby. The one Maya used to hum. The one hidden in the locket. I laughed through tears. You always get the last word, don't you? The tide crept closer, touching my toes, cold and tender. I let it, because I finally understood. The rain, the house, the voices. None of it was meant to haunt. It was all memory, trying to find its way home. And maybe Ethan was home now. Maybe Maya too. Maybe this was what forgiveness sounded like. Not silence, but rain easing into calm. I took the ring one last time, kissed it, and threw it into the inlet. It disappeared without a splash. The sky began to clear. Sunlight broke through, laying a path of gold across the water. Somewhere, in that light, I swore I saw them. Two figures, side by side, walking along the pier. One turned, smiled. The wind carried their laughter toward me, and I smiled back. When I finally turned to leave, the tide whispered against the shore. It almost sounded like words. You can't bury the sea. I looked up. The horizon shimmered, endless and quiet, and for the first time in years, the echo beneath the rain was peace.